Hey everyone, I wanted to try to do just a short video expressing my concerns about what's going on right now with the coronavirus and the response to it. And I've been trying for some time to just be as balanced and thoughtful as possible about all of this because it's very, it seems like a very complicated situation. And so there's going to be some gray areas of exactly what the best way to handle this is. But having said that, let me explain both sides, how I can understand that there are concerns for the elderly population and those with pre-existing conditions. And I know people personally who are in both of those categories, who I love very much. I do want to protect them. I also understand the negative consequences of shutting down our economy for an extended period of time. It's been a few weeks and we're already seeing results of shutting the economy down, or a vast majority of the economy. And it has not been good, obviously, and I think people understand that, except maybe people don't understand just how bad it could get if we continue for several more weeks or months. I think it's insane to shut the economy down through the end of May. That would devastate, just practically speaking, that would bring absolute devastation to our nation. It would be like a Great Depression. I don't feel like I'm exaggerating. I think there's a lot of other people that agree with that, who understand economics. And I don't even think you have to understand economics really well to understand why that it would be potentially the result of shutting the economy down for more than 2 months. So I think we have to try to find that balance between how do we practically protect people as best we can who are more at risk, while also allowing people to, at some point in the near future, to start getting back to work and to a little bit more normal life and still taking precautions. It doesn't mean that we can't take precautions. I understand washing your hands. If you want to wear a mask, great. Don't be talking really close to people, and maybe avoid shaking hands for a while. I understand all of that. But I really still believe, and I've been trying to find this balance, because I think we have to be thoughtful and, appreciate the risk of people who could get it, more likely get it, and I should say, get it and really suffer from it. Because obviously there is a reality that it does affect certain people really bad. Having said that, let me make the point about if people do get it who are more at risk of fatality or just having a really rough time with it. There is more and more evidence coming forth about this I forgot the name of it. Coxychloroquine, I probably said that wrong, but that drug that people are talking about, that several doctors have come out, and more people are coming out saying that either they have treated patients successfully with that, with a mix of other things, doctors that are prescribing it that know what they're doing, and they're mixing it with the appropriate amount of drugs. So with doctors who are prescribing it, and then from some patients who have been treated with it, who have had seen good results when they were really going through a rough time or thought they were going to die, and they were treated with that drug that the president, by the way, did encourage that could be a potential cure or treatment. He wasn't saying he knew for sure. He was saying it was potentially a good treatment. And then he got mocked, and people, discredited that and said, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And the president, by the way, was just trying to give people hope. And so thankfully, I think he was right about that. And we'll see as more and more people get treated with that. But it sounds like it's becoming more of a way to treat people. So this would solve a big problem where we could help people who do end up getting it that are at a higher risk of death. So there's that. Also, has been antibody testing that has been, it sounds like from what I heard from the press conference the other night, that that's a very real possibility, that that can start becoming more of a thing where people in the general population could be tested if they think they've had it. And if you've been tested positive that you did have it and you don't have it any longer, that you could go out into the population and not have to be concerned about that anymore, and infecting other people, etc. So that is a really promising thing, and I think Dr. Birx, it was Dr. Birx who actually said that that is definitely something that they want to start doing more of, and that they have the ability to do that. So that is such a really important thing for not only just to try to help our society get back to normal as soon as possible, but also this will help us get a better point of view or understanding of just how many people have been infected or were infected, because then you have a better, more clear, more accurate death rate, because right now a lot of people don't necessarily have strong symptoms, especially if they have stronger immune systems. Their bodies can fight it off more easily, so they don't even know if they've had it, or they may think it's just a bad cold or something. So there's truth to that some people don't have that big of symptoms, that strong of symptoms. So there's a lot of people out there who have not even been tested, that we're dividing the number of deaths by the people who have been tested or who have been tested positive for it, but there's a lot of people who haven't been tested positive who did have it. So the death rate is not, it's skewed right now. So the more we can test people who may have had it, do the antibody testing, that would be a huge deal to get more accurate data on this. So, I think it's so important to try to put things in a balanced perspective. I understand protecting people as best we can within reason, weighing the effects of the economy and what it does to people's livelihoods, their social or their emotional well-being, having their lives devastated by losing their job and the economic impact of that, and not having hope. And there's a lot of negative effects of shutting down the economy. It's not just money versus lives. It's lives. I read another article that had compared its lives to lives. And so shutting down the economy for this virus is having a huge impact on people's personal lives in a huge way. So we have to try to put things in perspective. I think there's a way to protect people that are of a certain population that are more at risk. And again, I'm not saying we shouldn't take precautions. I understand, we could practice social distancing. I have a concern about just certain states, even our own state, being a little too heavy-handed with the government mandating so many things. I believe our governor mandated that we cannot have play dates, and I understand maybe it would be wise to avoid that, or just not do as much interacting with other kids. Although people have to work and there's daycares that are open. We'll see if it stays that way. But I babysit a few kids because the mom I babysit for works. She's a teacher, and it's just hard for her to take care of her kids while she's trying to still teach from home at times. So I'm taking care of kids. I have other kids around me that are not my own kids. I have my son. So there are things that have to be approached in a practical way. And I'm just a little concerned that our civil liberties have been overstepped. And I understand guidelines. I understand encouraging people to do the right thing. I'm a little surprised by how much people have been willing to be mandated to so strictly and so in extreme ways that normally we would see that as a violation of our civil rights. Again, I understand protecting groups of people, but it just opened the door. This is a great way. If you look, I don't know where this virus came from, if it came from a lab, if it came from maybe a combination of a lab in Wuhan and a wet market with animals. maybe both, I'm not sure, but it sounds more and more like that's one or both of those places is how it came about. But if you think about it, it is such a good way to control people, because fear, it's very easy to control people with fear. And a lot of people out there are afraid. And I understand if you're afraid. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. So for me, I just have had peace throughout this, although I've been a little disturbed by some things or concerned. But I honestly have not been feeling afraid or gripped with fear about it. It's going to take a few weeks of, I believe we have to pray through this. I totally appreciate the enormity of the situation, but I'm not afraid. And so I think fear is such a good way to control people. And I think we can have a balanced approach without using alarmism. And, if you think about it, the death rate in the United States was predicted, I believe it was 2.2 million at one point from some, what do you call that? Just, it was a model or something, and numbers were plugged in. And, now they're saying between 100 and 200,000. Now, we'll see if that's accurate. I mean, a lot of this stuff, and you could say, oh, we took some steps, and so it, helped curtail or help lower, it's much lower because we took steps. Well, there might be some truth to that, but, models aren't always, look at the climate change models that have been wrong over the years. We have heard predictions of alarmist, like end of the world predictions that have not come true, and they were based on models where you plug in some numbers, and it's not always going to be accurate. So again, I'm trying to put this in perspective. I'm trying to help people process this in a way that is more balanced. And I think you can have a balance of understanding that this is more serious than the flu, because it does pass, it's more contagious. You can catch it more easily, and it stays on the surface of things longer. So there is that side to it, and it's a little tougher for people that are more negatively affected by it. It's a respiratory, you can have respiratory issues because of it. So all of that being said, we have to weigh the economic devastation and the effects on people's personal lives for shutting the economy down for how long, and then versus what risks people are at, or what risks there are for people being exposed to this virus. And the more you're exposed, the more, our bodies know how to build up immunity to things too. So for people with normal, regular immune systems that don't have problems or autoimmune diseases or whatever, it's actually, we're getting exposed to things all the time. And so, we can't just stay shut in forever. And I'm just not sure it's possible to wait this whole thing out. Again, I believe that there are solutions to this with drug treatments, and vaccines are being, they're looking at vaccines. So for people who believe in, vaccines, and I think there's, the flu vaccine is a little bit questionable because or the effectiveness, because it's, the flu mutates, and it's not going to be the same every year. So there is something about that to be said, but there are different solutions than I think are being pushed by some people now that are saying it's like the end of the world. Now, concerning our economy, I would encourage people, as a believer, I'm going to be praying about this, because I do believe it's going to take a miracle to get people to stop being fearful, and there are certain agendas that want to push fear on people and control them. And so I think we need to pray this through. I think this is a really difficult time in our nation, and we certainly have to take the consequences of all this seriously. So I'm praying fervently. I'm praying over this all. I'm praying against not just this virus, but all the effects that it's brought with fear and economic devastation, and just the debt that it's putting on us now, because we're spending $2 trillion for a few weeks. I mean, we can't keep spending $2 trillion every 2 weeks or every month. That's not feasible. And we already have 20, I lost track, $20+ trillion we are in debt. So anyways, we have to be thoughtful about this, have to try to put fear out of your mind and just try to look practically speaking at all this and the effects of all this. Please just think it through and understand that those of us who would like the economy to get back up and running as soon as we can, we do care about people. We care about people getting sick, and we care about people being effective financially. You can care about both of those things. So let's have a balanced approach. I have hope. I really do. I think the good thing about this time is that we have, people are forced to kind of reset. They have time with their families. Americans can be so busy running here and there, and it is a good time to self-reflect, to focus on your family, to maybe be creative. Use it as a time to innovate and just figure out ways to be creative with your time that you have now at home. And it is going to be nicer outside. It's starting to, it's spring. So there are some good things that we can learn from this and some positives to take away. But certainly we can't stay this way. We can't stay shut down like this for a lot longer. And so I'm praying for us to get through this through April. And then I'm hoping that we can starting to open up stuff and for people to not be so afraid. And so I'm going to just encourage people to be praying about this and just asking yourself, being introspective. And I would encourage people to seek the Lord. And I don't have fear because I seek the Lord. I spend time with the Lord through prayer and through reading His Word. And so all of those things have helped me just remain calm and been able to handle it better than maybe some other people have. So that's what I wanted to say about all that. Please don't lose heart, don't lose hope. I absolutely believe we will get through this, but we have to be balanced in our perspective, and I believe we have to seek God to get through this. So just be encouraged, and if you want to leave a comment or, I'm willing to discuss different points of view on this, but please, let's try to put things in perspective. So that's what I have to say, and God bless, and I just hope everyone is well out there and be safe, and that's it. Thanks.